It was just before dawn when the fragile calm of the northeastern region was shattered. The clock had barely passed 6:45 a.m. when the men of the 21st Special Armored Brigade, deployed on a clearance operation deep in the Sambisa Forest, found themselves trapped in what would quickly be recognized as one of the deadliest ambushes in recent memory. This vast, densely forested area, long known as a stronghold for insurgent groups, had once again become a scene of loss, heartbreak, and despair. The soldiers, relying on intelligence they believed reliable, entered the forest with a mission to eliminate hostile elements. Instead, they were met with a superior, heavily armed force that had anticipated their every move. Images that began circulating showed bodies lying among the foliage, uniforms covered in mud and sweat, silent witnesses to the brutality of the attack. Among them, survivors struggled to hold intravenous fluid bags, praying for the rapid evacuation of their wounded comrades. No hospitals were nearby, no immediate medical assistance available. Only the determination of men trying to save lives with improvised resources and an unbroken spirit of camaraderie amid chaos. The full extent of casualties has not been officially confirmed, but visual evidence and first-hand accounts suggest catastrophic losses for the military. Hours before, a pattern of coordinated violence had already taken shape across Bono State. Between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., military bases in Kondaga, Minjikana, and Mate were attacked simultaneously. Eyewitnesses described waves of attackers striking from multiple directions, using heavy weaponry to inflict maximum destruction. Armored vehicles and tanks were destroyed, arsenals looted, and ammunition stolen before troops could regroup. The synchronization of these attacks, followed by the Sambisa ambush, revealed not isolated skirmishes but deliberate, highly organized offensive. The evidence points to insurgents acting not with recklessness, but with strategic planning, a detailed understanding of terrain, and knowledge of military logistics. Civilian populations were not spared. Less than 24 hours before the forest ambush, the community of Anash, in the Goa local government area, suffered a direct attack. Armed insurgents stormed the 82nd Division Task Force Battalion, and then turned their violence toward the most vulnerable, displaced civilians living in temporary camps. Several innocents were killed, and women were abducted, forcibly taken into the DRA mountains. These events highlight the indiscriminate cruelty of insurgent operations and the extreme risks faced not only by soldiers, but also by civilians trapped in conflict zones. The military had also experienced significant leadership losses in recent weeks. Earlier this month, Major Ibrahim Migal was killed defending a base along the Bama to Guazar Road. In February, a newly promoted lieutenant colonel and 7 other personnel fell victim to a brutal ambush in Jacana. The repeated targeting of high-ranking officers points to a worrying trend that undermines command structure and operational readiness. The ability of insurgents to execute simultaneous attacks and ambushes raises critical questions about surveillance, reconnaissance, potential internal breaches, and the difficulties troops face navigating the challenging terrain of Sambisa Forest. The psychological impact of these events is profound. Citizens are witnessing the raw realities of war through videos and first-hand accounts. Soldiers holding intravenous bags for wounded comrades, praying amid chaos, and demonstrating unwavering solidarity under fire. These images inspire admiration and evoke sorrow, serving as stark reminders of the human cost of conflict, the daily dangers faced by those in uniform, and the fragility of life in the face of organized violence. Recent attacks also expose systemic weaknesses. The military's apparent inability to anticipate coordinated strikes on multiple bases suggests either intelligence failures or internal compromises within security institutions. Insurgents' detailed knowledge of troop movements, base defenses, and terrain indicates a level of infiltration or insider information that allows for highly effective operations. This intelligence gap represents a critical national security concern demanding immediate attention. Moreover, the assaults reflect a deliberate strategy to destabilize entire regions. By targeting military installations, destroying equipment, looting arsenals, and attacking civilians, insurgents are inflicting immediate damage while sowing fear and creating long-term instability. The attacks erode public confidence in the military's ability to maintain order, disrupt normal life, and expand insurgents' operational freedom. The psychological toll on both soldiers and civilians is immense. fueling anxiety, distrust, and vulnerability that extend far beyond the immediate conflict zones. The terrain of Sambisa Forest further complicates military operations. Dense vegetation, difficult road networks, and limited infrastructure hinder troop movements, surveillance, and rapid medical evacuation. Even well-trained, well-equipped forces face significant disadvantages against adversaries intimately familiar with the terrain. The combination of environmental challenges, intelligence shortcomings, and coordinated insurgent tactics creates circumstances in which even disciplined troops confront overwhelming odds. Despite these tragedies, the bravery and dedication of soldiers remain evident. Their efforts to save comrades, protect civilians, and confront heavily armed attackers reflect exceptional courage and professionalism. Yet repeated losses and operational setbacks underscore the urgent need for improved intelligence, better coordination, enhanced surveillance, and stronger support systems for troops operating in high-risk areas. The political, social, and institutional consequences of these events are far-reaching. The loss of senior officers and destruction of critical military infrastructure weakens the military's capacity to respond effectively and impacts public perception of its efficacy. The coordinated violence demonstrates that insurgents possess both resources and strategic planning capabilities, compelling the government to reassess security policies and resource allocation to protect populations and maintain operational integrity. Civilian impact is equally severe. Displaced communities face abductions, killings, and looting. Recurrent violence fuels internal displacement, food insecurity, and social destabilization, creating a cycle of suffering extending beyond immediate conflict zones. Each attack destroys lives and property, eroding the social fabric and public trust in institutions. Understanding insurgent groups and their methods is essential. They operate with intimate knowledge of the terrain, using ambushes, simultaneous attacks, and psychological warfare. Their deployment of heavy weaponry, timing of strikes, and targeting of critical objectives are deliberate, maximizing impact while minimizing exposure. The military response must adapt not only tactically, but also in intelligence, logistics, and psychological preparation. Institutional analysis reveals that repeated exposure to ambushes and coordinated attacks can weaken morale, compromise command structure, and complicate future planning. Vulnerable bases, easy access to sensitive information by insurgents, and slow reactions to complex threats indicate the need for structural and tactical adjustments. These include enhanced surveillance technology, protection of classified information, specialized training for hostile environments, and protocols for rapid evacuation and medical care to reduce casualties. The visibility of these events, amplified by social media and news outlets, adds another dimension. Citizens not only receive reports but experience the tension, vulnerability, and sacrifice firsthand. This creates pressure on institutions, necessitates review of security policies, and sparks debate about defense resources, troop preparedness, and civilian protection. Strategically, insurgents appear to seek indirect territorial control, exploiting troop dispersion and limited rapid response capacity. By destabilizing critical infrastructure and subjecting civilians to constant fear, they create operational spaces for future movements and actions. This is not merely tactical but psychological, shaping perceptions of security and trust in the state's ability to protect its citizens. The convergence of hostile terrain, deficient intelligence, coordinated attacks, and psychological pressure creates a scenario in which even disciplined forces face extreme challenges. Soldiers' resilience, seen in acts of solidarity, courage, and care, contrasts with institutional vulnerabilities. Every operation offers lessons in planning, logistics, communication, and the need for continuous adaptation against tactically evolving adversaries. As events in Sambisa Forest and Bono State unfold, a deeper reflection on national security becomes imperative. Armed forces must reevaluate protocols, strengthen intelligence, improve interagency coordination, and ensure soldiers have logistical, medical, and psychological support. The state bears a responsibility to protect civilians, prevent information leaks, and ensure that the sacrifices of its military personnel are not undermined by structural failures. The tragedy also raises questions about the enduring nature of conflict in the region. Despite years of military operations, insurgent groups continue to adapt and operate effectively. Understanding their motives, resources, and tactics is essential for developing strategic responses that reduce violence, protect lives, and restore minimal stability. History demonstrates that lack of accurate information, poor coordination, and vulnerability to hostile terrain pose not only tactical risks, but significant human costs. Finally, images of soldiers holding wounded comrades, devastated communities, and fallen leaders remain a silent testament to the price of war. Bravery, resilience, and sacrifice are evident, but the need for institutional learning, strategic planning, and civilian protection is urgent. The nation faces a moment for reflection. Security cannot rely solely on individual courage, but must rest on systems capable of anticipating threats, safeguarding lives, and ensuring that acts of heroism are not lost in a void of improvisation. As night falls over Sambisa and the echoes of attacks linger across Bono State, it is clear the struggle does not end with the withdrawal of insurgent forces. The aftermath is profound and visible, rebuilding bases, caring for the wounded, mourning losses, and restoring public confidence in national security. The story of these days, documented through images, testimony, and institutional analysis, becomes essential to understanding modern conflict, the need for continuous adaptation, and the importance of acknowledging both human vulnerability and resilience in the face of extreme danger. Ultimately, Sambisa Forest is more than a site of ambushes and military losses. It is a mirror reflecting the complexity of conflict, the interaction of insurgent strategy, hostile terrain, and institutional capacity, and human resilience under extreme adversity. The nation must learn from each event, strengthen security systems, and ensure that the sacrifices of its soldiers and protection of its citizens form the foundation for effective policies, reliable intelligence, and comprehensive preparedness for challenges that lie ahead. History continues, and with it, the responsibility to analyze, understand, and act with